if Google is walking into a room, there's 100 people in there, 98 people are pointing to company A saying, I'm the expert at marketing, and your company B saying, no, it's me. Who do you think that person walking into the room is going to trust? The 98 people or the one person that's pointing to themselves? So if you can get more of those people pointing to you, and even better, if you can get the people that have a higher authority in those, has more clout, if they can be pointing to you, that's going to help you rank up. And then, eventually you're going to be able to, be at the top page. So
welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Troyer, and welcome to another episode of Show Me the Nuggets. I'm excited today to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart and is intriguing, we'll say, for a lot of our audience. And we're going to be talking about link building and SEO. And our guest, Michael, is doing this at scale with some really big brands. And I know you guys are going to absolutely love our interview here together. So Michael, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Michael, you run a company called MediaBerry. Tell us a little bit at the highest level what MediaBerry does.
Yeah, absolutely. So MediaBerry is an SEO agency. We work primarily with B2B SaaS companies to help improve their SEO marketing. So we do that through off-page SEO, which would be, link building. And then we also do it through content creation as well.
Okay, perfect. So can you tell everybody a little bit about, now that they know about MediaBerry, how you got into this crazy world of digital marketing and stumbled into MediaBerry?
Yeah, so I will say that when I began my career, marketing was not really at the forefront of my life. So I actually started off working originally for a SaaS company that did data analytics for banks and credit unions, very specialized kind of the field of what they were doing, but I didn't really understand what a SaaS business was, and so that was kind of my first exposure to that. Also, pretty good exposure to data analytics. So moving throughout my career, I had moved into other jobs, did different things, but I definitely had that itch. I think as a lot of millennials do, to have that side hustle, right? So I started my own business. I was running an e-commerce shop. And from there, I really learned the value of marketing and the different things. I have all these competitions. So my first business that I ran was a CBD business. So this was back in 2018. This was, when it was very gray area. People are like, is this legal? Is it not? So I got so much headaches from doing that one just because it was kind of in this gray area. I got kicked off of PayPal, as a payment processor, which I actually think is pretty hard to do, but they were like, yeah, we're not doing your business anymore. But I learned from the value, because it's I don't have the marketing budget to go compete against these huge brands that are trying to enter into this space because everybody knows it's about to pop. So I really got kind of burned out just because all these other people were outspending me. And so I was I need to figure out a little bit better way to one up my business. So that was where SEO and marketing really came into play. That business eventually, became other things. But I never really stopped wanting to, have my own business. So eventually I was able to come in and step in to own this business at MediaBerry. So I'm not the original founder, but the original founder, his intent with the business was always to be able to provide top level SEO abilities for some of these huge name clients because, they need it, but then also be nimble enough where we can, help the startups as well. Because like I said, I've been there and, you're always looking for some place to improve what you're doing right now.
100%. Yeah. I love what you guys do. Can you maybe clarify a little bit, what you really mean when you talk about relationship link building?
Yeah. So, if you're a little bit unfamiliar with link building, if you're looking at a blog article, you're reading it through and there's a hyperlink in there. So let's say you're looking at, best marketing agencies 2020, you're scrolling through and then there's a hyperlink that says MediaBerry says X, Y, and Z, and MediaBerry is in blue. You click it and it goes back to our site. You just saw a backlink, right? So it's using a third-party site who's authoritative, that's going to be ranking well to help promote your own site. So I also like to tell people that it's kind of like if Google is walking into a room, there's 100 people in there. 98 people are pointing to company A saying, I'm the expert at marketing, and your company B saying, no, it's me. Who do you think that person walking into the room is going to trust? The 98 people or the one person that's pointing to themselves? So if you can get more of those people pointing to you, and even better, if you can get the people that have a higher authority in those, has more clout, if they can be pointing to you, that's going to help you rank up. And then, eventually you're going to be able to, be at the top page. So there's different ways to do link building. I think a lot of people have probably seen the negative side of link building, where you go on pages like Fiverr or some of these other freelancing sites where they're like, yeah, I'll get you 500 backlinks in 24 hours. You can guarantee that those are terrible backlinks. So they're just going to be, just available. They just push a button. They're, probably a PBN or anything else that's not really going to help you rank. So that's not what we like to do. Ours is more, like we say, relationship driven. So we are actually building a relationship with the webmasters or the editors or somebody on the site. So we have a whole team that does outreach, trying to, get our foot in the door, essentially. We build the relationship with them. They begin to trust us. We're giving them high quality clients. We're following their instructions, doing all these different things. And in return, they're allowing us, maybe preferential spots in sites that not a lot of people can get. And then if they, maybe it is that they allow other people, maybe we can get into some of the articles that are ranking better than other people. So we have the ability to do that, where it might not be as, fast and easy as some other people are doing it, but it's more of the quality versus quantity for us.
Yeah, sure. I think it's really interesting these days when you look at like really the quality over the quantity. You got big sites and, I don't care what industry, every major industry. And if you really look at just like the number of good quality, like in content links, DR 70 plus, it's like, they really don't have that many links. Like I was looking at, like there's a famous blogger, Adam Enfroy. He makes like 400 grand a month affiliate blogging. I'm looking at him, right? So he's doing a ton of guest posting. They're doing like 400 grand a month in affiliate commissions. And he's only got like, and I say only, it's still a lot, but he's got like 400 DR70 links. Right. Yeah. Like when you think about that versus, the 40,000 backlinks that Ahrefs shows, right? 400 is a lot more obtainable. Right. And when you really think about quality, right, like, you could get there in a couple of years, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of misunderstand about the link building aspect is there's, yes, Google does take into account the number of backlinks that you have, right? That is a factor. If you and I are both have the exact same website, and then we're backlinking to 400 and I have 401, I'm probably going to go a little bit higher than you, but you need to make sure that it's going to be that quality as well, because you could have 10,000 backlinks that are all DR10, or if you are like a banking industry, right? And you're linking to some of these like adult sites, gambling sites, different things like that have nothing to do with banking, then you're not going to be ranking in that factor. So I think people kind of misunderstand where it's like, yeah, I mean, if I just get all these backlinks, I'm just going to rank up really quickly, where it's, is reputation management essentially. Like, who do you want to be representing your brand on their site? And is that going to help or hurt you?
Yeah. Yeah, like the old safe neighborhoods analogy. Is that a safe neighborhood? Would you want to show up in that neighborhood? And if they're linking out to casinos and gambling and porn, and you probably wouldn't want to be 100%.
Right. Yep.
So in your business model, I can only assume that like you guys are doing lots of guest posts and link swaps or rotations, link assets. Talk about, kind of maybe some of the top 3, 4 types of things that you guys do, and go as far as you want, Michael. Like by all means, don't feel like you need to give away all the sauce.
Yeah. So I mean, in the first iteration of the business, that was definitely the way it was done, right? Everything was through guest posts or it was through exchanging. And that works really well. And so it helps build that relationship, because there's a lot of these sites that, I mean, they're not going to say like, hey, like we're not here to, make a profit off our blog. It's supporting our other business. So if you want to get these placements on our site, then we can definitely do that. But in return, you need to help us improve our SEO as well. So they want that exchange, or they're like, hey, I mean, we have this blog, but it's running well, and we could always, we would love to do guest posting as well on your site, or you can, write an article for us, some of these kind of favors, right, that you can exchange. So I think that works really well in a small scale. So if you have like a few, a handful of clients and you're, only doing a few amount, trying to maintain that list of exchanges in the background is a lot easier. And so what we've seen now is the next iteration where it's like, okay, now that we're growing, we're getting all these clients, that list is getting huge. We're owing all these people links. We're trying to figure out how to do that. And so that's where that relationship comes into play. So now we have the relationship. We've done a lot of these things. Now with these sites, we can ask them if, there's other ways that we can, get the spots on there, but we can only do that because, we built a relationship before.
Fair, 100%. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I found like I got to stage 1, I guess you could say, with mommy blogs, right? Helping my local clients. And I found that that mommy blogs were the easiest because they don't make very much money. Their monetization is really bad typically. And they want more content. And if it's good content, they want the content. So it was a lot easier for me to pitch them than most of the other niches out there, and get a good quality guest post published that like you would be paying hundreds of dollars for in any of the marketplaces out there, right? And us to not have to pay. And we got up to doing about 150 of those a month. And like, man, I wanted to kill myself. Like it was awful, right? Like 150 a month. And so, yeah, we ran into some major scaling problems. And like, we really backed off that as a method. So I can definitely see, why you guys have kind of transitioned the business to a little bit of a different model as well.
Yeah. And I think, there's nothing wrong with doing it the original way. I think it's really helpful. But like you said, I mean, if you're just doing it for your own site and doing that exchange, oh, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah.
But if you really want to get to scale and start doing a lot of these things, you have to find other methods that might be a little bit different, but it's still maintaining the same standards, right? Just because we're going to be doing it a little bit different doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to just accept any blog into anything with like any DR and the spam score is ridiculously high, things like that, right? I mean, you still need to maintain those standards at the end of the day.
100%. So let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about SaaS. So like at the end of the day, like you're an agency, right? And like you focus down, you guys niche down on SaaS. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like how'd that happen? Why did that happen? Are you guys happy with that niche kind of as an agency, as a business?
So that's a great question. So our original founder, he was like a freelance writer. He was working for some really big publications like Monday, HubSpot, different places, these names that in SaaS. And so that was a field that he was very comfortable in. And so when he was seeing the need in the market to do, quality backlinks, because as a content writer, you're putting these links in anyway. So it's like, why am I not kind of double dipping on this? And so he built an agency around himself, and, that was really focused on. But then just because he was comfortable with that doesn't mean that's, the best market to be in. But what we have found is that in the SaaS realm, you have a few different things that are positive for you. So number one, you have the ability to not just be local. You can be national, you can be international as well. So if I'm doing data processing, right, that's my business, I can take a client anywhere in the world to do that. So that gives me a greater availability. That also gives me a lot more competition. So, I mean, just because, the local plumber, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. So like in Dayton, Ohio, like there's probably only going to be a handful of them, right? And so I know everybody. Whereas if I'm doing, data for the entire world, I could be competing against somebody in India. I can be competing against somebody in Hungary, right? So all these people. So there's that where you have the ability to kind of go anywhere. Two, like I said, there's a lot of competition in SaaS right now. So people are trying to figure out different ways to level up on their competition. So there's a healthy level of competitiveness, which means that, for marketers, it's a good way to capitalize on that appetite. And then finally, it's just good to always specialize in something, right? The further you niche down, you are able to really be the authority in that site. So, I mean, we could definitely go into, any field that we really wanted to, but specializing in that means that my team understands that realm. They understand we've had other clients that do maybe similar things to a new client coming in. So it's just easier for us to do that. But at the same time, we're still open to bringing on other clients as long as it's like relatively close to what we do. I mean, we've tried to, bring on completely other random ones, and it never works well in the long run. So, just sticking with what you do really well is beneficial. I heard this thing, I might be butchering the saying, but it's always stuck in my mind about like drilling for oil. So like you can drill down, you have a field of oil. And so you're putting 50 wells in there and they're all going like 10 feet down. And some of them might be tapping it, but then, you're just keep putting more wells in there, just trying to find oil. Whereas if you had 2 or 3 that just keep going down and down and down, you might hit this huge reservoir, right? So it's which approach would you rather do? Be really broad or be very narrow and go deep?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot easier for fulfillment as an agency to go deep, 100%. Yeah.
Right. I mean, especially if you're working with these sites, right? You have to constantly find sites to work with. So if you're trying to do everything for everybody, like my site list would be, ridiculously long. Whereas if I'm just doing SaaS, then I can be, a little bit more narrow.
I'm surprised that you didn't mention valuations with SaaS. And, I think that that's a big thing that you guys have going for you, right? Being in the SaaS world, people have to invest in marketing. And I think in SaaS, especially, average customer values, lifetime values, people are obsessed with, but they don't always have the cash up front, right? To really invest all that money. It's expensive, right? With paid media. And that's why a lot of them go after VC money, and they go after, short-term capital or non-dilutive capital to get that money to be able to grow, right? And so I think search and what you guys do is a no-brainer, right? In the long term, it's going to take money up front, but I don't think they'll probably have any other channel that compares in ROI to search.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, but there's also kind of the aspect of market condition, right? So right now we're going through a huge change in the market. Everybody's very skeptical and, scared of what's going on. So we've seen 2 different approaches. One, you have the people that are like, I'm reallocating my entire marketing budget now to sales because that's an easier metric to measure. It's a, perfect ROI because I can just see how much, and then, I get this reward. Whereas marketing is like a very long-term thing. I might get more rewards down the road, but to weather the storm of, a recession, I need to make sure I have cash coming in. And then you have the other people who are saying, we saw what the last couple of recessions did. We just saw what happened, for the COVID crash. And the people that doubled down in marketing are the ones that are now reaping the benefits. So we have those clients that are like, no, like now is the time to really double down. And if you have VC funding or, you are pretty profitable in the space, then you have the budget to do that. But even if you're not, and you're more in that startup phase, having the ability just to invest anything into your marketing or your SEO is just going to pay dividends down the road. You just have to be patient and, make sure that it's an investment versus, this direct sales approach. So a little bit 2 different approaches there.
Definitely. And I can see both of those. I see that in most industries right now. Everybody's a little unsure of what's happening. So yeah, I completely agree. So Eduardo, the show's producer, while pulling together notes for today, was talking about a client leading software AI company where you guys were able to increase their traffic by over 2,700% in 6 months. That's kind of a crazy accomplishment. Can we talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so that one's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's one of our featured case studies. We try to, just because SaaS, it's a big realm, but, a lot of people know who everybody is. So, try to keep our clients a little bit more confidential. But for that one, so they were an AI company. They had the ability to write blogs, through their software and do whatever, but they weren't really seeing a ton of great results. I mean, I say great results. They were seeing like 9,000 hits per month. I mean, that's pretty good. But, they wanted more. And so they were like, how can we take our traffic to the next level? So what we did with them is a very targeted approach, as that's kind of the way we always do it. But, in our case study, we demonstrate that it's, we weren't doing more than 10 backlinks per month. And then over the course of, I think it was about 6 months, we were able to increase their domain rating, their DR, from, I believe it was 46 all the way up to 65, which is great. I mean, having that number bump up is fine. But what the real value was, especially for them, they went from about 9,000 hits per month up to 250,000. And so that ability to scale that, with just a handful of links per month kind of really proves what we were talking about on that quality versus quantity. And especially in that one, making sure that we are doing that two-step process where we're reaching out to the client, and then we were doing the exchange in the background there to make sure that we were getting these results was key to that success.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you said you're only getting like 10 links a month, right? So again, it's quality over quantity. How long do you see like the delay is from getting the backlinks to kind of seeing the actual rankings improve? I know obviously that's a tricky question and it all depends, but is it like a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day? Like, what do you see, like, or how do you set clients' expectations, maybe is a better question about what to expect? I mean, because you're not a magician, right? You can't play God. So how do you do that? Or what advice do you give?
Yeah. So I get this question all the time, right? So, and it's always funny. It depends on the person's role, on the way that they ask it. So if it's like a growth manager, or it's the CEO or somebody, they're like, okay, when can I see the results and can I get it today? The answer is always no, you're not going to see it today. And if it's a marketer that I'm talking to, like the head of the marketing team, that question gets asked, maybe half the time, because they know it's going to take a long time. But for trying to understand how long it's going to take, we usually say that within 90 days, we should start seeing some results. So it does take some time, just because you can do organic backlinking where you're kind of just putting great content out there and people are citing you anyway. So you're getting these links. So some of that happens all the time. And so Google takes that into an account. And then once you really start piling on month after month, they're seeing this growth where lots of people are starting to link to you. A lot of these sites that have a higher DR than you. So if I'm currently at a DR 50 and I keep seeing all these 70s, 80s kind of coming in, it's like, okay, well, maybe I should take into account that these people are, putting some good stuff out there. And so I'm going to start to rank up. So we usually see some of the first results within 90 days. And then about 6 months, you probably see a really big difference from where you started at month one. And for us, we normally like to do like, we track all that, right? We want to see where you're at when we get started. We're going to look at your history now. So that way, within 30 days, within 60, 90, and then 6 months, how are we progressing? And then where do we need to change direction as well? Because some of these links might look really great on paper, and then it's just not ranking correctly for some reason. So we have to go through and, I love, as I mentioned, data. So going through and understanding the data and trying to figure out what we need different.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to Show Me the Nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.